A few hours ago, I was sitting on my couch watching Love Island UK. Don't ask me why, sometimes I just like trashy television. And I got a notification on my phone from the Viz app that read, new series Beat&Motion. A wannabe animator learns a powerful lesson about giving up on his dreams. Now don't get me wrong, clicking on new series notifications from Viz can be like Russian roulette. Sometimes you click the notification and get Akane Banashi, and sometimes you get Earthchild. Luckily this time when I pulled the trigger, it was a blank, my friends. In this case, a blank being a good thing because that means I didn't just paint the walls. But not only did I get to keep the integrity of my entire being intact, dare I say, this manga moved me. Yes, I had a very deep and personal connection with the new Shonen Jump series. I understand that this is somewhat adjacent to telling someone you just met on Tinder that you love them on the first date, but I need you guys to read the first chapter of Beat&Motion and tell me that it wasn't super hot fire. Anyway, I liked the first chapter of this new manga to the point where I thought I might as well sit down and give it a quick review. But real quick before we jump straight in, remember to leave a big ol' like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content. Thank you guys so much for your support, it means a lot. Now let's just jump into the first chapter of Beat&Motion. Now first things first, I'm a huge sucker for manga and anime series where the characters are a little bit older, like in their 20s and 30s. In 99% of anime and manga, all the characters are like 15, so it's refreshing to be able to connect with the characters more being in my 20s myself. But it wasn't only the fact that the characters were older that made me feel such a strong connection to Beat&Motion. It was the theme that no matter how old you are, you never have to give up on chasing your dreams, and you're never too old to start chasing a dream. It reminds me of that old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. The main character, Tatsuhiko, might have given up on drawing and animation when he was a kid because of a bad experience he has, but just because he's in his 20s doesn't mean he can't start chasing that dream again. And as a guy in his 20s working towards some pretty tough career paths, I felt the fuck out of that. Now, I'm pretty sure this series is going to be partially about Tatsuhiko's animation career and Nico's music career, and partially a romantic comedy series. Which I will say, the only negative thing I have to point out about this series so far is that it's kinda cringe to write a romance about a parasocial relationship turned IRL. But once again, it's just a manga, and there's been much more egregious shit pulled in rom-com series in the past, so I'll let this one slide. Barring my mentioned criticism, I think the fact that these characters are in their 20s will play very nicely to the rom-com aspects of the story. Think about My Dress-Up Darling, because it's pretty similar in concept. Two characters, a guy and a girl, have different dreams, and they both support each other to make their dreams come true while also falling in love. Technically, it's more Gojo helping Marian's dreams come true, but still Gojo's getting something out of it. Now think about how awesome it would be to have a version of My Dress-Up Darling where the characters aren't 15. Don't get me wrong, I love My Dress-Up Darling, but why the f do the characters have to be in high school? Every cosplayer I know is an adult. I've probably spent enough time fanboying over the fact that because the characters are older, that makes them more relatable, so let's move on. The characters themselves are also pretty strong for a rom-com, Tatsuhiko being relatable and funny as well as not being overly generic, which is actually pretty huge for the genre to not have an overly generic male protagonist, and Nico being an outgoing and talented artist who can turn into a bit of a gremlin when she has too much to drink. They didn't necessarily reinvent the wheel, but I could see myself getting really invested in these characters if the story doesn't go full Earthchild. Speaking of the story, the first chapter did a fantastic job at setting up the premise of the series while also being engaging, funny, and somewhat emotional. That scene where Tatsuhiko found out that Nico, that artist that he's loved since middle school, turned out to be that demon girl from the bar was peak rom-com comedy. That's about all you can ask for a perfect first chapter. I genuinely hope that Beat&Motion is able to keep up this story quality going forward, because if it does, we might just have our new big Shonen Jump rom-com series. Especially now that Kubo won't let me be invisible as ending this week. I'm not sure if Kubo is actually a Shonen Jump series, but it's on the Viz app under Shonen Jump, so if I'm wrong, someone correct me in the comments. The last and probably most important thing I wanted to talk about in the first chapter of Beat&Motion is the art itself. I personally found the art to be incredibly charming while also being a little rough around the edges and minimalistic, but there are still these huge, beautiful pages like Tatsuhiko rediscovering his love for animation. This all came together to create a unique style that's both somewhat cartoonish, but also classic, beautiful manga that we all know and love. The character design is incredibly cute and also super stylish when it comes to Nico herself. Honestly, this was an incredibly strong first chapter, and I have high hopes for this series going forwards. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up doing a weekly review for this series yet, but if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know in the comments down below. But hey, if you like silly rom-com series, why don't you check out the review I did for the new Kaguya-sama movie, The First Kiss That Never Ends. I'll have a link to that down in the description below as well as on your screen right now. But that's about all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye now.